strong ideas, though. Marco?
You signed the TikTok order, right? Did you sign the TikTok order?
Yeah,
Yes, that was just.
President Marco Rubio's ideas is
just signed it.
How many
still
did you sign?
changing
Are you going to
Venezuela,
sign?
changing power. Are you still committed with Maduro leaving power in Venezuela?
Well, we're going to find out about that, too, because we're going to probably stop buying oil from Venezuela. We don't need their oil.
Another embargo like the first term?
Well, it could be, but we don't want to buy, we don't have to buy their oil. We have plenty of oil for ourselves, so
President Trump,
that'll change Venezuela quite a bit.
President Trump, there was a lot of concern about this during the campaign. A question that only works today. Are you a dictator on day one?
No, no. I can't be called that. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote. The Democrats didn't because they cheated like dogs, but I believe in the sanctity, and this was too big to rig. This last election was just too big to rig.
Mr. President,
But
we believe in climate
really
change.
the opposite.
When do you plan to speak to President Putin?
Could be very soon.
And you talked a bit about Ukraine and Russia, but how long do you think it would take to end that conflict? And
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week. And now you're into 3 years, right? So he can't be thrilled. It's not making him look very good. Now, eventually, you know, I mean, it's a big machine, so things will happen. But I think he'd be very well off to end that war. We have numbers that almost 1 million Russian soldiers have been killed. About 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers are killed. Russia's bigger, they have more soldiers to lose. But that's no way to run a country.
What did your TikTok do, Mr. President?
Just gave me the right to sell it or close it. Essentially with TikTok, I have the right to either sell it or close it. And we'll make that determination. And we may have to get an approval from China too, I'm not sure. But I'm sure they'll approve it. And if they don't approve it, it would be somewhat of a hostile act, I think. But it's 50% as a country. You understand? You haven't heard that one before, right? That's called a joint venture. And nobody ever thought that way before. Well, I don't know. I think you have a lot of people that would be interested in TikTok with the United States as a.
Mr. President, what was it like walking into the Oval Office this evening?
Oh, what a great feeling. One of the better feelings I've ever had.
Do you like this town better now than in 2017?
Well, we're very experienced now. You would say nobody's ever had experience like I have. I've dealt with some very good people. I've dealt with some very bad people, and I know who the bad ones are and the good ones are. You know, don't forget, I was very successful in primarily the real estate business. And people used to say, who's worse, a politician or a vicious real estate developer? And I'd always say, you know, the real estate developer is far worse. But after about 3 months and getting to know scum like Adam Schiff and other people like that, I said, no, actually, real estate people are quite nice by comparison.
You said you plan to speak with President Putin soon. What about President Zelensky, and what's your message?
Yeah, I would, but he's told me he wants to make a deal. I mean, he wants to make, Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does, he might not, I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's gonna be in big trouble. You take a look at their economy, you take a look at the inflation in Russia. So I would hope, I got along with him great, and, you know, I would hope he wants to. No money for Hamas or Hezbollah, none. They were flat broke, and October 7th would have never happened. You all know that. It would have never happened. They had no money. Now they're rich, but, you know, they're weakened in a different way. I would say that the one attack by Israel really set them back. It really set them back. And others. You know, the attack on air defense was a bad attack for Iran.
What are you signing now, sir?
It's an executive order relating to reforms to the federal workforce, including to the senior executive service.
We're getting rid of all of the cancer. I call it cancer. The cancer caused by the Biden administration.
How confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza
and conclude the three phases of this deal.
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but
Apologize.
I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the two-state
Gaza,
solution?
boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place is, it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help?
You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, the best weather, you know, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance? How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead, by the way, right? Most of them are dead. But they didn't exactly dead. But they didn't exactly run it well. Run viciously and badly. So you can't have that.
Mr. President, on TikTok, sir, do you pause any decision on Chinese tariffs until you know what the resolution on TikTok will be? Are those things
No,
connected
if
at all?
China didn't approve it, we could put tariffs on China. Don't forget, China charges us tariffs, and we charge them very little, except for what I did. I put a lot of tariffs, and we charge them very little, except for what I did. I put a lot of, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars. But until I came along, China never paid 10 cents to this country. They ripped us off, and they never paid anything but to this country. They ripped us off, and they never paid anything. But like if we wanted to make a deal with TikTok and it was a good deal and China wouldn't approve it, then I think ultimately they'd approve it because we'd put tariffs on China. Maybe. I'm not saying I would, but you certainly could do that. And if we said, well, if you're not going to approve it, then that's a certain hostility, and we'll put tariffs of 25, 30, 40, 50%, even 100%. And if we did that, I think they'd approve it.
President Trump, you've seen the other living presidents a couple times in the last few months. If you ever had to call on one of them for advice about anything that's going on here, which one would you call?
It's an interesting. Well, I thought Bill Clinton was a very good politician. I don't think he was used properly. I think they disrespected him. When Hillary was running, he came back and he said, you know, you better get up to Michigan and Wisconsin. You remember that, Peter? Every house has a Trump sign on it. And they all laughed at him because the Republicans hadn't won Michigan or Wisconsin for decades, long time. And they all laughed at Bill Clinton, like, the hell does he know? And he turned out to be right because I won both of them. And then we just won both in this election, too. We won Wisconsin and Michigan and every other swing state. We won all the swing states, all 7. They talked about 7 swing states. We won them all. So. But Bill Clinton he had a great political sense, I think.
You look like you were having a good conversation with President Obama at President
I
Carter's
was.
funeral.
And you'd like to know what it was? Everybody wants to know. I know, I wouldn't want to, we were having some crazy conversation. Why do you asking a question like that? I don't think you want to know. You might
Can you tell
not,
us what you just signed?
you might be insulted.
It's an executive order relating to holding former government officials accountable for unlawful disclosure of sensitive information. This next one, sir, is a declaration of a national energy emergency.
Sir, you also
That's
have
a big one. You know what that allows you to do? That means you can do whatever you have to do to get out of that problem. And we do have that kind of an emergency.
President Trump, at some point will you use your powers of the presidency to tell Americans who are concerned about drones?
Yeah.
A
Oh,
few weeks
good.
ago,
Yeah.
what exactly
I
was
will.
happening? Can you tell us now?
In fact, I'd like to know because I just got here.
What do you think?
I just came here. I've been here for what, 15 minutes now.
Do people listening, because this is going out live?
And I got to read this letter too. Because of you, I found this letter.
I can read it for you.
It's interesting. Yeah, I know you would. Your father would too.
But is it anything, these drones, is it anything that people need to be worried
No,
about?
I think it's terrible. I would like to find out what it is and tell the people.
And can you commit to some kind of?
In fact, I'd like to do that. Could we find out what that was, Susie? Okay? Yeah, why don't we find out? Immediately. I mean, I can't imagine it's an enemy, or there would have been, you know, people would have gotten blown up all over. Maybe they were testing things. I don't know why they wouldn't have said what it was. They had a lot of them flying over Bedminster, which is interesting. Right?
And with the events today and yesterday, was everything moved inside just for cold weather, or was there some kind of security concern?
No security. Because shut that down pretty easily if you're sophisticated. They're very sophisticated, these people. No, it was just cold weather. And we made a good move because, first of all, I thought it was incredible in the Capitol today. You know why I liked it? Because I got great reviews on that speech. I got great reviews. Can you believe it? They actually were fair.
This is
Maybe the fake news is changing.
unleashing energy production.
Yeah, unleashing energy production. But I thought it was, I think having it in the Capitol is great. It's obviously, you can take care of the people you have to take care of. The city was booming. And if we would have done it outside, people would have been hurt because it was really cold. You know, it was like, looked sunny. But when you stood outside for 10 minutes, people were running back in. It was really cold and really windy. Cold and really windy. The wind brings it down a lot. So we made the right decision. You couldn't have stayed. I don't think you could have had it out. You know how cold it was today. And you couldn't have stayed. I don't think you could have had it out. You know how cold it was today. It was, people went out for a while just to test it. They couldn't stay out more than 10 minutes. They all came back in. So we would have had a disaster if we did that, and people would have been hurt.
President, the unlawful disclosure, EO, is that related to the Hunter Biden situation?
Which one?
The one on unlawful disclosures by federal officials, is that related to?
No, I think it's just general than that. It's not Hunter Biden. I was surprised that President Biden would go and pardon his whole family, because that makes him look very guilty. You know, I could have pardoned my family. I could have pardoned myself, my family, and I said, if I do that, it's going to make me look very guilty. I don't think I'd be sitting here, frankly. If I did that, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now, because I would have shown that you're guilty. But by pardoning his brother or brothers, by pardoning all of those people that he pardoned, by pardoning J6, the Unselect Committee, they destroyed all of the documents. They deleted all of the information. There's no information. And a lot of the information pertains to Nancy Pelosi because she was given 100, I mean, you know this, it's on tape with her daughter. Nancy Pelosi was responsible for not taking advantage of 10,000 soldiers or 1,000. You wouldn't have you could have used 400. It was a relatively small crowd. It wasn't the crowd that was at the mall. It was a small crowd. So I was a little bit surprised that he did it, because it makes him look guilty. I mean, he's going to have to live with it. Now, with that being said, it's unbelievable precedent it creates for a president. But the precedent is unbelievable. Now maybe every president that leaves office, they're going to pardon every person they ever met, so they don't have some lunatic like deranged Jack Smith, who's a total lunatic, by the way. Not a smart guy either, he's a dummy. But we beat the hell out of him. And I helped my reputation.
Do you think you'd have to do the same thing at the end of this term?
Well, I guess now I have precedent to do it. I wouldn't want to do that, no. I think it makes you look very guilty. I think it makes Biden look very bad, very weak, and very guilty. And, I mean, he pardoned everybody. How about this J6 committee? Why is he pardoning them? The reason is because if you delete and destroy documentation, everything, they have nothing, because they were guilty as hell. They rigged it. It was a rigged deal. And when you do that, they look very bad, but I was a little surprised he did it. Liz Cheney, I mean, she's a lunatic. And she lost by the greatest margin in the history of a politician running for Congress, like 40 points. The reason it was the greatest is because anybody losing that badly is going to drop out. But she's a nut job. She doesn't drop out. You know, she just keeps chugging forward. And she lost by almost 40 points. That's the biggest number anybody's ever lost by. But why would Biden do that? He pardoned her and pardoned everybody. The reason is that they destroyed documents. And if you're even in a civil case, which this wouldn't be, I mean, people go to jail for a long time for doing that. What's this one?
That's unleashing American energy, sir. It relates to easing permitting processes and other regulatory systems to ensure that we can produce energy efficiently to drive the American economy forward.
President Trump, looking around the office, we noticed some changes from the way that Biden had it set up. Can you confirm that you have added back the Diet Coke blood?
I think this, first of all, I just got here. So my people came in. They have extraordinary decorator sense, right? Let me just see some of the pictures. That's a good one. I could live with him. I could live with George Washington, I can tell you. I could live with Thomas Jefferson. I could live with most of them. They took a very safe route. They don't have any bad ones up there.
Withdrawing from
What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China with 1.4 billion people. We have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens.
Mr. President,
Pretty sad though, think of it. China pays 39 million and we pay 500 million. And China's a bigger country.
Mr. President, you spoke about inflation today in your remarks. What actions are you taking today that will have a direct impact for Americans on their everyday costs to bring the
Well,
cost down?
the biggest thing and factor for inflation is energy. They screwed up my energy policy, and then they went back to it. You know, they heard it really badly, and then they went back to it, and they started drilling more, but by that time it was too late. Many of these things that we're signing and that Doug Burgum is going to be signing, and Chris Wright, who's phenomenal at, you know, Energy, Department of Energy, we're going to be taking a lot, we're going to make a lot of money from energy. We have more than anybody else. We're going to make a lot of money from energy. We're going to make a lot of money from tariffs. You know, European Union charges us, they have a VAT tax of 20%, but it's really much higher than that. And that's the equivalent, almost the equivalent of a tariff. And they're tough. They're very tough. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take almost anything. And yet we take their cars and we take their farm product. We take a lot from them. So, you know, we have like a $300 billion deficit with the European Union. So we'll straighten that out with either tariffs or they have to buy our oil. The one thing they can do, our oil and gas, the one thing they can do to catch up quickly, buy our oil and gas.
Will you travel?
And they should do that.
Will you travel to China this year?
Yeah, it could be. I've had the invite.
Mr.
President, she's
President,
invited
I would
you
do it,
to
yeah,
come this
I
year.
would do it.
talking about the European Union and the tariffs, like, what do you mean when you say that European Union country like Spain is part of BRICS?
That or what?
BRICS. You said
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS are 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations. And they were looking to do a number in the United States. And if they do that, they won't be happy about what's going to happen to them.
Are you still considering a universal tariff, Mr. President, on all countries?
I may, yeah, but we're not ready for that yet. We may wrap it,
Mr. President.
because essentially all countries take advantage of the U.S.
This
We
is-
don't make any good deals in the U.S. It's amazing in a way that we exist. We don't make good deals. We don't have any good deals. We have a deficit with almost, not all, there are a couple, I won't tell you their names because I don't want them to find out about it because they'll feel stupid. But there are a couple of countries that, actually don't make money with us. but I don't want to let you know because they'll immediately change that. But we're gonna do, I tell you what, our country has an amazing economic future. I really believe that.
What kind of universal tariff if you did do one?
Well, you put a universal tariff on anybody doing business in the United States because they're coming in and they're stealing our wealth, they're stealing our jobs, they're stealing our companies, they're hurting our companies. So you put a tariff on to keep them from doing that.
Mr. President, you surrounded yourself with a whole bunch of billionaires today. President Biden, as he in his farewell address, warned about an oligarchy. I was wondering if you could respond to that.
Well, he had a lot of guys, and then they found out that he didn't know what the hell he was talking about, and I think they deserted him. They deserted him, those same guys. Look, I don't make pretenses, smart guys, but there are a lot of smart people around, but they did desert him. They were all with him, every one of them. Now they're all with me, I don't know. It's not gonna get anything from me, I don't need money. But I do want the nation to do well, and they're smart people, and they have, they create a lot of jobs. And if they don't do it, China's gonna do it. What they've done is they've taken industries and they've taken it away. They outsmarted China. And, we sort of like that. It's okay. They've done a great job. A lot of them, not all of them.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies.
Ooh.
Mr. President, going back to the World Health Organization, you were the president during COVID. Don't you see the importance of an organization like that to coordinate a global response?
Sure, I do, but not when you're being ripped off like we are by the World Health. World Health ripped us off. Everybody rips off the United States, and that's it. It's not going to happen anymore. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys, let's go.
One last one, sir. This is your Martin Luther
Thank you,
King
guys.
Day proclamation.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Let's go. Thanks, Press. Thank you, guys.
This is Martin.
Let's go, guys.
What are we doing with this stuff?
All right, guys, let's go. Please move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Recording? Is this off? Recording?
Don't do it.
Yeah, we'll come back. Just make sure it's on.